For my service learning experience, I had the pleasure of shadowing a speech and language pathologist. For 2 full school days, I observed a variety of different children with speech and language impairments, which were often accompanied by a learning disability, autism, or Down syndrome. All of the students I observed received pull-out therapy. The SLP and I would go and retrieve the students from their normal classroom and take them into the speech room to achieve more of a one-on-one or small group setting. The students varied in age from 5 to 11 years old. Depending on the child or children's individual speech or language impairment in each session, ultimately determined which activity the speech pathologist would carry out with them. Due to the fact that I shadowed this SLP over Thanksgiving break, the activity we used most was a direction following activity that revolved around all things Thanksgiving. There were photos of turkeys, pilgrims, Native Americans, ships, and basic Thanksgiving foods. The children were asked to place magic tokens on the symbols that they were directed to. The directions varied from basic questions such as place a token on the turkey in the row to place a token on the turkeys separated by a ship. To us, these directions may be extremely easy to follow. However, many of the students had a difficult time understanding. Other students had trouble with different speech sounds. Those that I observed consisted of CH, S, R, and L sounds. With these students, the speech pathologist used photo cards. Many of them were on the right track. The children who had speech sound issues often came in a small group. One small group consisted of 2 students, a boy working on his L sounds and a girl working on her R sounds. At this time, I observed both of them. The boy was doing amazingly with his L sounds, goofing off a little bit as the speech pathologist was flipping through the cards, trying his hardest to hide the word bulldozer from her, because he doesn't like to say it. The girl laughing along, assuring me that this happened every Monday they met with her. It then became her turn to practice her R sounds. It was at this time when I realized that this was the most challenging thing that was going to happen. As I watched this little girl trying so hard to produce a grr sound, and watching the speech pathologist attempt to get her to line her tongue up in the best way possible, I began to feel the girl's frustration. She had been working on her R sounds for years, but still has not been able to grasp the concept of the proper sound. The SLP explained to me that she had come a very long way since the beginning, when she was only able to make a O sound. I began to empathize with the little girl, seeing the look of disappointment and frustration in her eyes as she looked in the mirror, trying to see the placement of her tongue inside of her mouth. It was really hard to watch, and I wanted nothing more than to help her get it. Every situation I observed went hand in hand with the exceptional education course, starting with the setting itself. We learned about the resource room setting in Chapter 5. We also learned about the speech and language impairment as well as specific impairments throughout the lecture and reading. These were all extremely prevalent during my service learning observation hours. While observing the SLP, she left the room to go get her next scheduled group of class, without realizing I knew one of the children in the group from outside of school. When he walked into the classroom, he said, "Wait, I know you. What are you doing here?" He was working on his CH sounds. When it was his turn in the rotation to practice his CHs, he got very nervous and said he did not want to practice. It was at this time that I gained a new insight on how children could be embarrassed of their impairments. He told the SLP that he gets nervous in front of big crowds. She calmed him by saying, "Well, you have to use all of these sounds every day. So one extra person listening is nothing. We could do this in our classroom with all of your classmates watching. You can do it with just one extra person." It upset me to see that he was so embarrassed for just a small language struggle, especially because he was so close to perfecting it. One student that I observed was completely surprising and absolutely amazing to me. Before he entered the room, the speech pathologist gave me a little background about him. She said, "The next student you're going to see entered kindergarten last year completely nonverbal. His parents would not allow him to be removed from the general education classroom because they did not feel that he needed it. They would only allow speech pathology in his IEP. No matter how hard the school pushed for the special program, the parents refused. When he enters the room, I'm going to let you judge his improvements, and then I'll talk to you about whether you think his parents made the right or wrong decision. But keep in mind, a year ago, he was completely nonverbal and hadn't ever made a speech sound." When the boy walked in the room, he said, "Hi, Amanda." He sat down and I started asking him basic questions about his family, mom, dad, etc. He answered all of them in full sentences. He told me that over the weekend he went to the movies to see Minions. I then read him off cards. They were who cards. I would say, "Madison rode a horse over the bridge." Then I would ask him, "Who rode the horse?" And he'd respond quickly. Madison rode the horse. In 1 year, he made unimaginable improvements. The child was extremely smart, not just nonverbal. His parents knew that their child was this smart, and they fought for him to remain in the general education program. He was an amazing child, and his parents made the right call completely. I am a communication sciences and disorders major, and I went into this service learning experience pretty sure that I did not want to continue. But the day that I met this kindergartner, I knew that I wanted to be able to help a nonverbal child like him one day. My interaction with this student completely changed my view when I left. Having such hands-on experience with the children and being able to carry out the activities with the children, I felt as though it taught me and prepared me to be patient when I'm the one in the speech pathology chair. I had one experience that frustrated me and made me realize that I was going to have to learn to empathize and be more patient. As a result of every situation I faced, I learned how important it is to keep my future students' abilities in mind as I try to teach them. The success of projects like the Speech and Language Pathology program at Lakeland School District and the majority of school systems rely greatly on parent participation. As I was observing, I noticed that if a parent does not reinforce what the children are learning in the classroom, at home, they are often set back greatly, especially over long break periods. Through this experience, I learned that I really want to help children in the future, whether it's in speech or another language area. I know I want to help children improve and strive to their best ability in life. I'm glad this experience gave me so much insight into the field that I'm aiming to enter in the future.